محمد رسول الله محمد رسول الله أرجو رضاك يا الله أنت الرحيم يا الله هبني عطاك يا الله أنت الكريم منك العطاء يا الله أنت العظيم يا الله فيك الرجاء.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters in Islam, welcome to the characteristics of the caller. We are talking about that very, very important characteristic which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he described it as a deen, as if the whole religion, the whole way of life of being a Muslim is about this one characteristic. And that one characteristic, the Prophet said, is Naseeha. A deen and Naseeha, the religion, the deen, the way of life is Naseeha. So we talked about Naseeha to the Muslims, to the non-Muslims, to the rulers, to the ruled. We've talked about the importance of Naseeha to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Imam An-Nawawi, rahimahullah, he gave us a very, very nice explanation of what is Naseeha in respect to Allah and the book and the messenger and the Muslims and the rulers of the Muslims. So let's have a look at some of the points that he highlighted in respect to that. So what is Naseeha to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He says it means having Iman in Allah and the denial of misinterpretation in regards to His attributes, describing Him with the qualities of completeness, perfection, and greatness, while declaring Him completely free from defects or deficiencies. Naseeha to Allah means to avoid disobedience to Him. It means to love for His sake and to hate for His sake. It means to keep good relations with those who obey Him and to have enmity with those who disobey Him. To recognize His favors and give thanks to Him for them. And to have sincerity in all affairs. To call, brothers and sisters, to call to everything we have mentioned and to encourage it. So that is part of Naseeha. Part of Naseeha to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to call to obedience to Him. To call to be grateful and thankful to Him. To call to have Iman in Him. To call others to love the people of Iman in Him. This is all part of Naseeha. To show kindness to all people, to those who you are able to in this call. And Imam Al-Khatabi, he said, the reality of this attachment refers back to the servant being sincere to himself. Since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of the sincerity of the one doing it. It's a very profound statement, brothers and sisters. Because from all of this Naseeha to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from all of this must ultimately stem from you having Naseeha to your own self. Because Allah is not in need of any of these things, but you and me, we are all most definitely in need of that. So what is Naseeha to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Then it is to believe that it is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His revelation. That's one thing. The second is to know that and to believe that nothing resembles it from the speech of the creation. Because the Quran, its speech is miraculous. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in fact challenges mankind that if you believe this book is from anyone else other than Allah, then bring something like it. And you will not be able to do it. So fear the fire whose fuel is men and stones. Naseeha to the book means to give it due respect. And how do we give the book of Allah due respect? Does this mean wrapping it up in many layers of cloth and putting it high in the house and then never touching it so it gathers dust? No. Respecting the Quran, respecting the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, means to recite it correctly with the right pronunciation. And if you cannot do that, you exert yourself in the effort to do that. And it means to seek to understand its meanings also. And then, of course, to act upon it. And to do all of that well, my brothers and sisters. To do all of that well. That's Naseeha. Not just to do it, but to do it well. And when you do all of this, brothers and sisters, to have khushu', to have humility and humbleness. Also, Naseeha to the Quran means to defend it from the misinterpretation of the people who corrupt it and who corrupt its meanings and corrupt its interpretation, and from the onslaught of those who attack it. Naseeha to the book of Allah, the Quran, means to believe what is in it and to affirm its rulings, that you learn its sciences and its examples, that you take heed over its warnings, and you ponder and reflect deeply over its amazing matters. If you have Naseeha to the book of Allah, all of these things you will be doing. Naseeha to the Quran means that you act upon those things that are clear and you submit to those things that are not so clear. That you seek after those matters which are general and specific, abrogated and abrogating. That you propagate its sciences and you call to it, and all of this, brothers and sisters, is being sincere to the Quran, to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As regards to sincerity to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then it is, of course, to testify to the truth that he was sent with. It means to obey him in what he has ordered and in what he has prohibited. Naseeha to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam means to aid him and assist him in life and death. Also, Naseeha to the Prophet means to be at enmity with those who are his enemies, and to align oneself with those who have made allegiance to him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Naseeha to the Prophet means to respect his rights and his honor, to revive his way and his sunnah, to spread his da'wah and his sharia, and to expel any doubt raised against it. Naseeha to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also means giving full respect and attention and importance to the science of hadith, to gain understanding of its meanings and to call to it, and to have kindness and mildness in learning and teaching it, because that is the habit and the characteristic of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It means also to this science of the hadith, which is where the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been preserved, that we give it due place, we give importance to it, we display the correct manners when reading it and when learning from it. We withhold from speaking about it without knowledge, and we give due respect to its people because of their attachment to it. We take on board its manners and its conduct, and we love the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions. And also, giving Naseeha to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam means that we avoid those who introduce new things into the religion and corrupt His sunnah by doing that. And we avoid those who attack even a single one of His companions. So this is all constitutes Naseeha to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As for sincerity to the leaders, it means to help them upon the truth. So this is Naseeha towards the leaders, to help them to follow the truth. In whatever aspect they order you, to obey them, especially in respect to them calling you to the truth and to follow the truth. Of course, if the leaders order you to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there is no obedience to the creation if the creation order you to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It also means, brothers and sisters, that you should order them, the leaders, with obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back soon to talk more about this important topic of Naseeha. Don't go away, we'll be back soon inshaAllah.
La ilaha illallah.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Let us continue our discussion about Naseeha. And we were talking about Naseeha towards the rulers of the Muslims. We were saying that Naseeha towards the rulers means obeying them when they order us with obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and helping them also, and advising them also, and ordering them also to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we do give Naseeha to the rulers, it should be with kindness and gentleness, reminding them of that which they are heedless and neglectful of. Also, it means to help them to fulfill the rights of the Muslims and not to rebel against them. This is part of Naseeha to the rulers. Also, Naseeha to the rulers means that we should make beloved to the hearts of the people obedience and Naseeha to the rulers. So, Al-Khatabi, he said, from sincerity to them, meaning the rulers, is to pray behind them, to fight jihad along with them, to give the zakah to them, and not to rebel against them with the sword when injustice or bad treatment appears from them. And they are not to be praised with false praises, and that dua is made for their righteousness. This is very important, brothers and sisters, because it is not part of Naseeha to exaggerate in praising those people who have been given authority over you, and to praise them with false praises when they are not deserving of it. That is not sincerity. That is not wishing the best for them. Actually, this will only cause them more destruction and corruption in this life and the next. And also making dua for them. There's one scholar, he said, if I had one dua which I knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it, I would make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would guide our rulers. Because if the rulers are straight, it will certainly help the people and the society to become straight. And if the rulers are corrupted, then it will also most definitely help to cause the society and the people to be corrupted. So to have righteous and pious rulers over oneself is surely a great blessing that we should make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, and we should never cease in making dua for those people who are in authority over us, whether they are our elder brothers and sisters, our uncles, our teachers, our aunts, our parents, our bosses, or the political rulers. All of these people in different ways have positions of authority over us. So we should have Naseeha towards all of them. And sincerity to the general Muslims. So the general Muslims are those who are other than the rulers and the scholars. So the ones who are considered to be rulers and those in authority over you are also the imams and the scholars. So the ordinary people are other than them. So then, what is important in respect to the ordinary Muslims is to guide them to that which is beneficial for them, both in this life and in the afterlife. Naseeha to the ordinary people means to keep harm away from them, so that they can learn about those things which they are ignorant of, especially in regards to the religion, but not only the religion, in all matters as well. Naseeha to the ordinary people means to help them by one's words and one's actions. It means also to hide their faults and to fulfill their needs and their wants. Naseeha to the people means to remove that which is harmful to them and to bring that which is of benefit for them. Naseeha to the people means to order them with good and to forbid them from evil with gentleness, sincerity, compassion, and mercy for them. Naseeha to the people also means, my brothers and sisters, to have respect for the elderly and to have mercy towards their young. It means to give them good admonition and not to act deceitfully towards them. Naseeha to the ordinary Muslims means, my brothers and sisters, to love good things for them, which you would love for yourself. To hate bad things for them, which you would hate for yourself. It means to protect their wealth and their reputation, and other than that, with sayings and actions. And it also means to encourage them to take on the character of all that we have mentioned, from all the types of sincerity, and to enliven within them the feeling for acts of obedience. So we can see from this, my dear brothers and sisters, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extend His mercy and blessings and forgiveness upon you. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill your hearts with naseeha towards Him and His book and His messenger and the leaders of the people and the ordinary people. We can see from this characteristic of naseeha that it will also be a means for many, many other important characteristics to arise. So if we can develop within ourselves this attitude, if we can cultivate this attitude, this way of behaving that is naseeha, then you will find that naturally from it, my brothers and sisters, many other great virtues, many other noble characteristics that all of us should try to imbibe within ourselves will come as a result of it. And we can see this, my brothers and sisters, in the stories of the prophets in the Quran. And we can see this in the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in respect to their wishing and hoping for good for the people to whom they were delivering the message. We see in the Quran the example of Salih. When he left his people, he said to them, so he turned away from them saying, my people, I delivered my Lord's messages to you, and I gave you sincere advice. But you did not like those who gave sincere advice. So you find the attitude of Salih towards his people, who were not Muslim, they were not believers, but his attitude and his approach towards them was an attitude and approach of naseeha. He gave them naseeha. He cared for them. He wanted good for them. He wished the best for them. And he called them and advised them in every single way that he could. as did all the prophets to their people. Whether it is Salih to his people, whether it is Musa to Fir'aun, whether it is Ibrahim to his father and his people, whether it is Nuh alayhi salam or Lut or Isa, wherever we look in the Quran through the stories of the prophets, we find that the prophets had this attitude, this approach of wishing and caring for the best for their people. And that is a quality and characteristic that is so deep in their lives and so clearly reflected in their stories. But as we can see from this saying of Salih at the end, having advised them, having given them Naseeha, having done everything that he could to warn them of the perils of disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of failing to follow His prescribed religion, of failing to single out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for worship alone. Then he turned away from them and he said to them, I delivered my Lord's message to you and I gave you sincere advice. I gave to you Naseeha. But you do not like those who give sincere advice. Brothers and sisters, let us not be like the people of Salih. Let us take on board, let us be people not only who we give sincere advice, but importantly, we accept sincere advice, because part of Naseeha is not only to give it, but it's also to accept it. And part of one's sincerity to oneself is to be able to accept advice and Naseeha when it is given, and to be pleased and happy when your Muslim brother and sister seeks to give you advice and seeks to give you Naseeha. So, oh my dear brothers and sisters who are callers to Islam, imbibe within yourself this vital, important and essential characteristic of Naseeha, because ad-din Naseeha. Join us for our next episode in the characteristics of the caller. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, Muhammadun Rasulullah.